with Intention, a podcast where we bring you stories from around the globe. Hello and welcome to Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. And today I have a wonderful guest with me, Meridan Zerner. Welcome. How are you today?
I am well, and I am well because I started off my day with a warm cup of coffee, a dog in my lap, and I do like a little gratitude practice that just kind of sets the tone. And I had the time for all three this morning, so I'm doing very well.
Oh, that's amazing. And speaking of gratitude, I was actually on a summit today talking about gratitude. So what a divine timing. Yeah. So it's great to practice gratitude each and every day. So that's awesome. So also tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and what part of the world you live in and things like that. And then we'll jump right into the questions I have for you.
Yeah, so my roots are, I would say, Northeast pocket, like Maine and Massachusetts. My parents still live in Maine, and so I'm kind of a coastal girl, although my dad was Navy. So that means you move around a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I'm living in Dallas, Texas, and I have had, gosh, a good 25 years with a preventive medicine facility here. That was some of the why for coming here to be able to work in preventive health. And now I get to do some of my own adventures and some of my own promotion, some of my own writing. I have a new book coming out in a month or so. Yeah, so it's a really exciting pivot year, a really exciting chapter.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow, can't wait to hear more. So you have over 30 years of experience in health and wellness. So, what really inspired you to become a registered dietitian, and what has kept you passionate about this work for so long?
The idea of well-being, wellness is just this wonderful large umbrella term. And I think even as a young person, I injured my neck quite seriously as a young person. And I came to appreciate even then, gosh, movement is really integral and is a gift. So when I pursued this idea of like, oh, how do we care for this body? And the body is fragile, it's vulnerable, and yet it's also quite resilient. I had to look at, okay, well, we need to move the body, but we need to nourish the body. We need to fuel the body. We also need to sleep. We need to manage stress. And so little by little, even though my first career was journalism, I kept finding my way back to nutrition and whole health care. So I went and got the master's degree in nutritional science, emphasis in health promotion, and then launch. That was really the beginning of what has been a remarkable and I hope ongoing career path.
Wow, that's amazing. So you've done quite a bit. So in your experience, what are some of the biggest nutritional myths people maybe still believe today?
Oh, the list is long. The list is so long. And I think it's also interesting to appreciate that every body is a little different. Sorry, so drop my glasses. Um, what might work for one person, we need to tweak for the person standing next to them. I mean, some things are universal. We all need hydration. We all need optimal protein. The brain really benefits from a certain amount of omega-3, L-methylfolate. Some of us metabolize it, some of us don't. So these are all things that we want to look at uniquely and individually to tailor them. But I think once we get over that, I think right now we're bombarded with a lot of myth and misunderstanding about, oh, carbs are bad, or oh, we should be doing the carnivore diet, or oh gosh, all processed foods are terrible. And there's just a lot of nuance in nutrition. There's some gray space that we want to consider here. So bottom line, there is no one size fits all. Depends on age, height, weight, gender, genetics. And I love that. That means that every single client is kind of a fresh adventure for me.
Mm-hmm. Unique.
Unique.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So, but is there one myth that maybe stands out the most, or no, not really?
Gosh, right now, I think it's that to live a long and healthy life, that you need this like superfood longevity hack. Like
Mm,
there's going to be that one food or that one supplement that is going to just catapult everybody to, their 100 years and just thriving. And it really is not at all the case. It is a mosaic. It is a recipe for well-being. And so I have to look at these different foods and what they provide and how do they interact, right?
mm,
And are there any sensitivities that we need to be mindful of? And so this idea that one pill or one supplement or one food's just going to be the end all be all, I think that's a huge myth. It
yeah.
is the it is the synergy. It is truly a recipe for well-being.
Yeah, and it's true. And it's funny because I love nutrition too. Like whether I eat healthy all the time? No, not at all. I have a 7-year-old. We tend to have ice cream days, these days, whatever. But I did read somewhere across the books because I do like studying different topics. And I noticed that exactly what you said earlier, that like for example, it says dates. Dates are very healthy, but and that's why I like to hear your perspective on it. It says that dates are very good, but depends what climate you're from and based on your body. Sometimes it's a good thing for that specific person, and sometimes it's not because it was talking about heats and things like that. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, dates aren't the only food. May I use a different example
Yeah.
that lands for me even a little bit more? So if I take this same idea, dates or other,
Mm-hmm.
and let's look at coffee for a second.
Mm.
So if we look at the research around coffee, and I do love some, 2 cups
Oh,
every morning.
guilty as such.
Uh, okay. Some people metabolize coffee perfectly, and some people don't metabolize it at all.
Yeah.
Um, some people metabolize it very quickly. Some people have a much longer half-life. So the experience with this one beverage is vastly different. And again, I find that sort of fascinating. I mean, we know coffee's pretty healthy. It reduces your Parkinson's risk. It reduces your type 2 diabetes risk. It does hydrate you. But gosh, if you're the person that doesn't metabolize it well, ooh, it's going to be a problem and you're going to have fluttering heart and there's going to be lots of other issues that come with it. So to look at your origin, maybe where you're from, not everybody, metabolizes lactose or dairy products
Mm.
well. Many do. But
Yeah.
I think we look at like, yeah, what's going on with you? What do you notice? Some of this we can even test these days, but yeah, that's a very good example. Some people don't do well with soy, some people do. And I don't ever just say universally, oh gosh, everybody shouldn't be doing gluten. Maybe, kind of depends on where you're from, how sensitive things are. It's a very interesting conversation. And so I don't love these bumper sticker, like, oh, gluten's bad or seed oils are bad, because there's so much more science and conversation in there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I have some people in my family like, you're drinking way too much coffee. It's so not good for you. I'm like thinking, yeah, but my body seems to like it. Nothing wrong here. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
I don't,
anything.
and I know like green tea is great for you too. I
Yeah.
just don't happen to like the taste of it. So that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. And I love, by the way, that you're going to have an ice cream cone with your 7-year-old because food and nourishment is so much more than just the elements, the calcium and the iron or the fiber. It really is the experience. And I
Yeah.
want to be able to slow down and have a delicious, creamy ice cream cone in the summer with my kids. And I think that's worthy. And if we're not able to budget for that or carve that out in our lives, I think we're really missing out.
Mm-hmm, definitely. So many people do struggle with consistency. Why is changing our habits often harder than learning what to eat?
Oh, habits. So, as a young dietitian, I will be honest, I would have maybe handed you a piece of paper and been like, here, 1600 calories. And, the math was just sort of black and white. Um, Probably not really helping a lot of people. Not that I wouldn't have intended to, but, you get older, you get wiser. So, down the road, really appreciating that it's more about behavior change than it really is the math, right? And behavior change, we're humans, it's hard, but we've learned more about how humans can change. We totally can. It's usually micro changes, it's small
Mm-hmm.
steps. You know, it's the atomic habits, it's the tiny habits, and all of those great researchers. It's usually one small change at a time. And within that, we set ourselves up for success to make it a half a step easier, right? So the tennis shoes are either in the trunk of your car or they're by the door. The apples are at eye level in the refrigerator. The Girl Scout cookies are in a paper bag stapled in the garage fridge, so they're harder to get to, right? Whatever that habit is, we're going to try to A, piggyback it with something you're already doing so that it just becomes part of the routine. Like I stand on one foot when I brush my teeth because I want balance challenge every day. But
Hmm.
when I brush my teeth, it reminds me, oh, yeah, this is where I'm trying to do that thing where I'm really doing my balance work. So piggybacking it with something you're already doing means we're more likely to embrace it and not feeling like we've got to do, make 20 changes at once.
Mm-hmm.
So a small step at a time. Sometimes it's getting a dietitian's help or getting a physical therapist's help or having an accountability partner to just get over the hump of that initial challenge that is this change, right? It's usually they say, gosh, 3 months before it feels like, oh, this is part of my rhythm. This is now part of my lifestyle. This feels reflexive. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe you have people walk with you and support you in those first couple of months as you integrate. Kind of depends on how big the change is and how
Yeah.
critical it is. But those are really helpful tips, I think, tools.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I love that. And I think that when you start feeling like you're slipping again, because it does happen, we have all of our moments. I think it's important to have those people to come back and it's like, okay, I need your help. I feel like I'm slipping to get that motivation back on track. Because I've been there and I know people who've been there too. And sometimes we fall off the wagon. It's harder to come back on the second, third round.
So I have a colleague. She runs a program called Humanity First, Humanity Shared out in Boulder, and she says it this way. We don't, as human beings, we don't ever expect, and it wouldn't be fair to expect, but we don't ever expect that we don't like slip a little bit or kind of sidestep or fall back, fall off the wagon, as you said.
Mm.
It's more how quickly can we catch it?
Yes.
You know, we don't spin out as far. We ask for help sooner so that we can kind of reroute and get back on the main road again. But we will all kind of detour. And it's just, is it a short detour or is it extended? You ask for help and we can kind of get it back on and it's a short detour. I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm, definitely. So, as a certified health and wellness coach, what behavioral strategies help people create lasting lifestyle changes?
So the first thing I spend time on with a client is getting to the roots of it. I think sometimes we focus on the leaves of the tree, right? We actually want to get at the roots.
Yes.
And the roots, in my humble experience, are about the why. Like, what is this going to do for you? Because inevitably, whatever habits we have going, they're serving us in some sort of way. Even the ones that we might view as not so good or bad habits, they're kind of serving us. They're giving us protection. They're safe. They're the known, whatever it is. So getting to, hey, what's it going to feel like to make this change? How is this going to positively influence your life? Why does it matter to you? And so using a positive psychology lens to get at this deeper why, to keep coming back to, hey, as this gets challenging, and it will, let me just get a clear vision of my future self. Let me get a clear vision of how this is going to feel. And I think that helps dictate next steps. So at that point, I'm going to suggest, okay, let's look at, 3 areas that would help create this impact. And now let's pick one of them. And then let's look at 3 specific and measurable things that we can write down that are actionable. You could actually do this week, you could do tonight, tomorrow. And how do what kind of help do you need to get going on those 3?
Mm-hmm.
And then we check in a couple weeks, be like, hey, how's that going? Because sometimes it's like, oops, you know what? I kind of overshot on that. Or gosh, I needed more help in this arena. Or, the roof fell in and so I couldn't get started. I think the ability to come back to the drawing board and reset is just such a gift. And I always want to remind people of that. Literally, meal by meal, day by day, we can change the plan, we can adjust. We're very versatile that way.
Hmm. Amazing. So, what role does mindset play in achieving better health and wellness outcomes?
Oh, mindset is, I think, huge. I mentioned positive psychology. You can actually get a degree in positive psychology right now at the University of Pennsylvania. They have phenomenal free resources there, tests you can take, and just things that really shine the light on who you are, what you bring to the table, how you can kind of change your mindset. You probably have great ideas yourself as a mindset coach. The springing from the positive, I think, is a game changer. And what I mean by that is, I have experienced if it's like, oh, well, I want to make this dietary change, this lifestyle change, because I just don't want to end up like my parents. It kind of has more of a negative impression versus I want to feel energized. I want to thrive and be able to go on a bike ride with my kids 10 years from now when they have kids.
Yeah.
There's just more of I'm looking forward versus, oh, I'm just trying to avoid that.
Hmm.
And you may be able to say it even better, but I think that framework that is more light and positive is just more exciting. It doesn't feel as rigid or restrictive or as critical.
Hmm. Going back to the why, like you mentioned, why you want to do what you want to do, right? Instead of focusing on that other aspect you're mentioning. So, yeah, definitely. That's beautiful. So you do specialize in management, and it's funny because I've been on that roller coaster a few times in my life before, and finally, when I started understanding the mindset, how things work, I was actually able to um, control it. Let's put it that way, in a better way than before. So, I want to hear what approach do you recommend for people who are tired of dieting and want sustainable results?
So sometimes, as far as sustainable, I want to ask or encourage them to ask themselves, hey, can you see yourself doing this in 6 months or a year? Because if the answer is no, we probably don't want to invest your valuable time, energy, money, and self-esteem in it. Like we can probably do different or better in terms of those next steps. Um, I think we can appreciate that. When people are looking at dietary change or weight management, that there is no perfect and that there has to be a little bit of flexibility in there to dine out or to, I don't know, have a whatever your thing is, have some French fries, like everybody's got their thing.
Hmm.
So we want to budget for that and adjust. So the opportunity to reassess, I think people can kind of get locked in on it's going to have to be this way. And if I stray, like all is lost, but more about, hey, is this working for you? Because if you can get away with French fries a couple times a week and still feel pretty good, fantastic. Great, let's do it. But also have a spinach salad and some blueberries. But if we find that we can't get change, we can't get traction, then we may have to look at, yeah, maybe this is the chapter when the French fries are just once a week. Like, let's figure it out
Hmm.
together. Um, and that's okay. I think recognizing that there is no one size fits all is remarkable. And I think too that, when you said, "Hey, I got to this place where I was just kind of navigating it a little bit better." In better control, your whole brain and body, we kind of relax because we're not like, oh, like we got to do this thing. And there's sort of this, rigidity and this intensity that can cue the fight or flight response in the body a little bit. We really want this rest and digest to the best of our abilities. And whether that comes from giving yourself permission and a little grace to have some indulgent foods from time to time, whether it's giving yourself the chance to rest and put your feet up if possible, knowing that you can start again tomorrow, like those kinds of things provide different cueing for the brain that benefits digestion, that benefits this whole metabolic process.
Hmm. I myself love food, and I've been to a lot of places around the world, and of course, you want to taste things, right? You want to have, but sometimes it's hard to stop. But I myself follow not strict because I don't want to call it that because right away your brain's like wraps around itself around that. It was like, oh, it's strict. But what I do is call it a cheat day once a week. But I was just thinking about something when you were talking, and I was like, sometimes it's like, oh, the whole week I'm gonna be good, and at the end of the week I'll have my favorite dessert or something. What if it doesn't have to be food? Because if we notice that our weakness is food, because we love ice cream or fries or whatever, maybe sometimes you gotta tweak it instead of food, have like, okay, once a week I buy myself something, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be expensive. I'm like, you know what? Because I kept up with it a whole week, I'll buy myself a new pairs of shoes or a nice top or something. It's good to tweak it sometimes, but you got to know your weaknesses too so you can work with them. So for me, it was first time I did it, I really stuck to my routine. I was really wanted to, I had my why, of course, like you mentioned, and I had, because when I couldn't fit that pair of pants after some time, I'm like, that's it, I gotta do it, and I stuck
Do it
with
again.
it. But then I actually let go. I fell off the wagon for about a year or so, and I'm like, ooh, one day, 2 days, I fell off, and I'm like, after a year, I'm like, you know what, time to get back on. No more excuses, and I did it again. So I know we are capable of doing anything we put ourselves into it, but we do need that either compatibility partner or mentor or whoever, nutritionist, to keep us, aligned and on track. So I think what you're doing is beautiful. That's why I was so happy to have you on my podcast because nutrition is very important to keep ourselves more aligned and all the good stuff, right?
Well, and to have the energy to do good works in the world, right? To have
Yeah.
the energy and resilience to participate, at work and the more important stuff, home life and family. And I was smiling that whole time because I just love the kind of the shared common ground. There's a whole chapter in the book that I have coming out on non-food rewards, like to acknowledge your progress. And maybe it's a non-food reward so that we're not always attaching if something went well or it's good with food. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, but also, special movie tickets. I oddly love new socks. Like I love squishy new athletic socks. So like I may reward myself with that. It might be a massage. It might just be um, quiet time sometimes, which for busy working parents is like the ultimate reward. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I challenge people to come up with their own list and really kind of put it out there where it's like, hey, when I reach that next goal, just like we would do for our kids, you kind of set them
Mm-hmm.
up for
Yeah.
longer term, effort, not just the quick fix. And like
Mm-hmm.
when we arrive there, let's pause and acknowledge this accomplishment. Good job, you. And I think that inspires the next lap. So I do love the idea of different kinds of rewards, different kinds of ways to acknowledge your efforts.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. You gotta. But one question that I want to ask, with so much nutritional information available online now, how can people determine what advice is trustworthy and what is simply marketing?
Ooh. So I don't ever want to throw shade or um, make anybody feel less than or feel bad if they're getting their medical information from, TikTok and Instagram. Quite a few people are, depends on the generation.
Mm-hmm.
But the realities are that only 3 to 6% of the folks that are putting out some of that information in those arenas are actually credentialed. And so you're getting a lot of hype, a lot of marketing, as you said. And it's very distressing to me because some of it is quite harmful and costly. So I think we look closely at where are you getting information from? And do you trust the source? Can that information be validated? Like, in my head, just because of my education, I'm like, okay, well, what did the American College of Cardiology say about that? What does the American Academy of Pediatrics say about that? What does the European Union's scientists, when they weigh in, like, what are they coming up with? So there really are some credentialed spaces. And I'm always going to run it through that lens. At the same time, open to research is ever evolving. And we've got this lens, and then there's gray space. So we've got
Hmm.
A grade science, we've got B grade science. I mean, I'll explore B grade. If it means that we've exhausted the A grade and people aren't getting results, we might look at B. But I'm definitely not going to have people consider some of the C and D stuff. So if you can't show me that it's a human study and it's, had great results and that people who know what they're talking about have also given the green light on it, your time is too valuable, your health is too valuable. I'm just not going there. I will keep coming back to be like, hey, where are we now with this research? Like peptides is kind of an interesting conversation. Some have good research, some don't have any human studies yet, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting. They may be coming. Um, so looking closely at, does this person have many degrees in the field? Does it seem like common sense and sustainable? And can it be validated by some of these other big deal wise professors, researchers, physicians, that kind of thing?
Yeah. And I think it's really important to be in the knowing, like not just go blindly into things that you see. With everything that we have around, you have to use your brain sometimes, right?
People say.
So, yeah. So you are also certified specialist in sport dietetics. What are some common nutritional mistakes active adults and athletes make? I mean, we don't have to go into details, but what are your thoughts on this?
So I do work with professional athletes and I work with wannabe athletes and up and coming students who are on the athletic track. We're all kind of athletes in some way. So a lot of the recommendations I would make for athletes, elements of that make sense for all human beings, right? We want you to sleep well to do the repair work. We want you to have enough total energy, carbohydrates, enough protein to do the repair work. Um, I think that sometimes people maybe don't appreciate how important these three headers are in relationship. So I can get an athlete that's eating well and going through the physical protocol that their coach has given them. But if they're not sleeping well or they're highly stressed, it absolutely affects their performance. Same thing. If I have somebody who's sleeping well and they're doing the workouts that their coach has given them, but they're not really paying attention to nourishing their body or they're doing a lot of fast food. No offense to the fast food, but certainly it's not going to help people, win gold medals. Um, yeah, we have low expectations for their potential, right? For their performance. Genetics, pretty powerful, but we really want to tap these tools and to see what's possible. I think additionally, some of my younger athletes and maybe people, again, want the supplement to be magical. They want to take the creatine and then, waha, I can, hold on to my muscle mass better or gain muscle. And it's like, yeah, yeah, that's actually a garnish. Like that's an earring. It's small. You're going to have to do the heavy lifting. And you're going to have to sleep well. Oh, and then the creatine will be helpful. So, I think appreciating that the foundation is critical. And if we're not doing the foundational work, some of those other bells and whistles that they get lost in, just not going to have an impact.
Hmm. I agree. Whew, lots to think about. So, preventative health is a major focus of your work, as we know so far. What are some simple changes people can make starting today, even to improve their long-term health?
So again, I'll go back to this vision of, okay, my future self. What do I want my future self to be able to do? Um, Do I want my future self to be cognitively sharp, to be able to get up and down, to be mobile, to be driving? Do I want my future self to be able to play with the grandkids? And so we want to start thinking about how do we get there? And the choices that you make today really dictate your future self's capacity, your future self's health future, right? So if we give thought to that wonderful future self, does it mean that we check in on our labs so we are always on top of, oh gosh, it's trending down, like, or trending up, like, let's get after it sooner rather than later. I really do think appreciating that stress for many people right now, for 1,000 reasons, whether it's financial, um, political, emotional, like it will affect your health. And so to devote time to some stress management strategies, coping strategies, things that allow you to dial it back a notch, breathing practices, yoga, those absolutely affect your future self. And it's doing things that you can do now for the heart that influences the brain. We know what we're doing now is going to somewhat dictate our cognitive capacity, you know, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. Now that's 50% genetic, 50% lifestyle, but what we're doing now will influence how sharp we are and what we're able to do 50 years from now, 40 years
Mhm.
from
I better go for a walk today then. No.
now. If that's what we get out of this, our time together, it's a win.
So I love walks actually. I try to do them more often than not, especially summertime. I love it. My daughter loves biking, so yeah, we get out in the summertime a lot. So
Get a little
at
vitamin
least,
D. It's
yeah,
good.
yeah, exactly, right. You got to do something, and swimming and things like that. Yeah, I used to do a lot more sports when I was younger. Maybe it's time to get back into more sports. So, your wellness philosophy is do the best you can with what you have, where you are. So, can you expand on the philosophy and how it can help people move forward without striving for perfection?
Yeah, perfection's kind of a dirty word in my book. Progress for sure. Uh, Doing the best you can with what you have where you are, I think, I hope, really invites people to consider sometimes there's a lot going on. Sometimes you can't remove the stressors. Sometimes we really don't have the time to do all the meal prep and cook from scratch, you know? We're going to have to figure out how do I microwave that meal really fast and have it be a little bit healthier? Like, what can I do with that? So, there have been chapters in my life where I just didn't have as much capacity, especially when I had the two kids and they were younger and they had needs, and I was caring for aging parents. And so, if I don't have an hour to spend in the gym, maybe I don't even have 30 minutes for a walk. But if I can figure out 10 minutes in the morning for a walk and 10 minutes in the evening for a walk, that's the kind of strategizing that we're talking about. Like, what can we do here? What is possible based on the very real challenging circumstances that people are facing?
Definitely. Like sometimes you just gotta stop and instead of your head going and spinning and everything, gotta take time for yourself and reevaluate. So looking ahead, aside from the wonderful book you have coming, which we're definitely gonna share in the comments here in the video, what excites you most about the future of health, nutrition, and wellness?
So, right now, I think people are appreciating that there is a mind-body connection and that food influences mood, that all the things that are near and dear to my heart that I've studied and invested in all these many, many, many years um, will really support a better, healthier lifespan. I call it a quality and quantity of life. And so I think there's more interest in how can we do this? Um, maybe I don't, maybe I am, adding in some of these elements and maybe it means less medication and that means fewer side effects. So we need medication. We need it sometimes, for sure. But at the same time, if we can care for this amazing body of ours a little bit better, then maybe we have more energy. Maybe we can do more. I think that the conversations are expanding and that the interest around this kind of self-care, recognizing, hey, self-care isn't selfish. That was kind of my mom's generation. Self-care is self-care. And if I'm grounded and have a good mindset, outlook, I am a better mom. I'm a better friend. I'm a better neighbor. I can do more in my community. And so that is how I think we're going to be able to not only help ourselves, but help each other in this process.
Mm-hmm. And definitely the generation go ahead of us too, because if what they see we do, I mean, they'll learn from us, our kids and stuff. Like I have a 7-year-old, so she's definitely watching and seeing what I do, and it will affect her right down the road too. So if I'm constantly scrolling, she'll learn that. If I'm eating nutritious stuff, she'll learn that that has value. So and on and on. So the name of the podcast is Rise and Thrive, Mornings with Intention. So my last question is, how important do you think it is to set intentions, either first thing in the morning, throughout the day? What's your idea on that, please?
As someone who is also a yoga practitioner, I feel like we set intentions at the beginning of a yoga class because they help to clear the chatter. They help us with a little bit of clarity about what's important and what is needed in this moment. And so I feel like intentions allow us to pause and reflect and kind of channel that more positive energy. And even if it gets us through the next hour or the next half day by half day, I feel like the intention is pretty critical. A very, if it's not the base brick in the foundation, it's definitely one of the base bricks in the foundation for this more positive, vibrant life.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here on this podcast. It's such a beautiful topic. I wish we had all day to talk about it, but I hope each and everyone listening got something out of this beautiful episode. And I can't wait for your book to be out. Again, it will be on Amazon, correct?
Yes, on Amazon. And then, if you just want to explore some of these fun topics, all of the blogs and some of the recipes on my website are free. They're just available. You can download them and, or enjoy them and hopefully get inspired by them. And that's the meridanzernernutrition.com. So yeah, those are just available. This is something I'm passionate about and want to gift to people.
Awesome. And your website looks amazing. I had a look at it. So feel free to reach out. We are here for you to help you. So stay connected, follow us so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for watching. And that's it.
Wow.
Take, take care, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.